Hello, welcome back, or welcome in if you've just wandered in and thought, all right then, what's this? I'm Jen.
And I'm Casey. How are you doing? Like, genuinely. Because I've been scrolling through comments lately and honestly, some of them feel a bit too relatable.
Yeah, same. I saw one the other day and it was basically, I've been learning English for ages and I swear I haven't improved at all. And I just sat there for a second thinking, that sentence is painfully common.
It is. And the worst bit is, it's not even dramatic. It's not someone having a meltdown. It's more like a quiet, tired kind of frustration. Like, I'm putting time in, I'm doing the work, why do I still feel the same?
Exactly. It's that slow burn annoyance. You're not crying into your pillow, you're just a bit fed up. And I get it, because language progress can feel like going to the gym for 3 weeks and then checking the mirror like, hello, where are my new muscles? And the mirror's just there being rude.
The mirror's always rude. But yeah, with English it's even worse because the mirror is usually you, judging yourself, and you're not exactly a gentle judge, are you?
Oh, absolutely not. Most of us are ruthless with ourselves. Here's the thing though. When people say, I haven't improved, a lot of the time it's not that nothing has changed. It's that they're measuring the wrong thing. Or they're measuring the right thing, but with a completely ridiculous standard.
Like using the wrong ruler.
Exactly, like trying to measure your height with a kitchen scale. And then you're like, well, I guess I'm failing at being tall. No, mate, you've just picked the wrong tool.
That is such a you example, but I get what you mean. Because people will say, I'm not fluent, and in their head, fluent means what, like speaking perfectly, never pausing, sounding like a BBC presenter, and also being funny.
Pretty much, and also doing it on zero sleep in a noisy cafe while someone's asking you personal questions. The fantasy version of fluent is basically superhuman.
And then your real life is you can understand a podcast, but you can't order a coffee without your brain going blank.
Right. Or you can read an article and think, okay, I'm not hopeless. And then someone says one casual sentence and you're like, sorry, what? Could you say that again? That moment makes people feel like they're back at zero.
That moment is horrible. It's like your confidence just falls through the floor. And I've had it. I've had days where I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing all right. I understood most of that video. And then I try to speak and suddenly I'm 5 years old again.
Yeah, and that's why this topic matters, because a lot of self-learners live inside that swing. 1 minute you feel decent, the next minute you feel useless. It's exhausting.
Speaking of which, quick pause. If this is your first time here, this is Mind the Gap.
Yeah, welcome. We usually talk about everyday British English, the kind you don't really hear in textbooks.
And we basically just have a chat and try to make the whole learning English thing feel a bit more human. Anyway, back to that comment.
So when someone says, I've been learning for ages and I haven't improved, I always want to ask, improved at what exactly? Because if you've been listening a lot, your listening probably has improved. If you've been reading, your reading's likely improved. But if you judge all of that based on one moment where you hesitated speaking, you'll feel like nothing counts.
That's so true. It's like you look at a whole month of effort and then one awkward conversation becomes the only thing that matters.
Yeah, and it's not a fair trial, is it? It's like you show up with 20 good things and your brain goes, I'd like to submit Exhibit A, that one time you forgot the word spoon. Case closed.
Your brain is such a drama queen. But honestly, that's exactly what happens. One tiny slip becomes the whole story.
Exactly. And the story becomes, I'm not improving. But another story could be, I am improving, just in ways that are hard to notice day to day. Because language progress is sneaky. Sometimes it's not a big leap. Sometimes it's just less panic.
Less panic is actually huge. You're still not perfect, but you're not spiraling either.
Or you recover faster. You get stuck, but you don't collapse. You say, give me a second, and you find another way to say it. That's progress. It's quiet, but it's real.
Okay, but can I say the thing people are thinking? Because I've thought it too. Sometimes you go, all right, maybe I'm improving in invisible ways. And then a voice pops up saying, Or maybe I'm just coping. Like, maybe I'm telling myself a nice story so I don't quit.
That's fair. That doubt is very human, and self-learners get it more, because there's no teacher saying, no, you're better than last month. It's just you and your thoughts are not always kind.
Exactly. There's no external reference, no score, no one saying you've moved from A to B. It's just vibes, and vibes are unreliable.
Vibes are extremely unreliable. So the question becomes, how do you check your progress without lying to yourself and without beating yourself up?
Yes, because if I'm self-studying, how do I actually know I'm getting better? I don't want fake confidence, but I also don't want to spend a year improving and still feeling rubbish.
And that's exactly what we're going to get into, not in a here are 10 steps way, but by looking at what you're measuring and whether that measurement is even fair. Because once you change the ruler, you often realise you've moved more than you thought.
Yeah, and if your goal is something vague like be fluent, you'll never feel finished. It's like chasing a rainbow, lovely to look at, impossible to catch.
That's spot on. So let's sit with that for a moment. If you feel stuck, it might not be because you're not moving. It might be because you're staring at the wrong scoreboard.
And if you're listening right now thinking, oh, that's me, don't worry, you're in the right place. We'll unpack it properly, and not in a scary way.
Exactly. We'll keep it grounded and we'll keep it real.
Alright, so if we're staring at the wrong scoreboard, that still leaves the awkward question. When someone asks, what level are you? What do you even say? Because I feel like half the time I want to answer, it depends who I'm talking to and how tired I am.
Honestly, that's not even a joke. It really does depend. And this is where loads of self-learners get stuck because they're trying to squeeze a messy, real set of skills into one neat label. It's like being asked, are you good at cooking? Well, good at making pasta, terrible at baking, and absolutely dangerous with a wok.
That is such a vivid picture. Dangerous with a wok is a whole personality. But yeah, English feels like that. You might be decent at one bit and then absolutely fall apart in another. And then you're sat there thinking, so am I good or not?
That's why people either underestimate themselves or overestimate themselves. Not because they're delusional, but because they're using one skill as the whole story. I keep seeing two patterns. One is the person who understands loads, but when they speak, they hesitate and they go, I'm rubbish.
That's the one that hurts the most, I think, because they're usually the ones who are actually trying. They're the consistent ones. They show up, they listen, they take notes, and then they open their mouth and it's like their brain goes on strike.
Yeah, and what's happening there is often not low level. It's that speaking is a completely different muscle. Listening can be strong while speaking is still shaky, but because speaking's the most public skill, it feels like the whole truth.
That's such a good way to put it. Speaking feels like you're performing, even if you're not trying to. It's like you're on stage, and then the tiniest pause feels massive.
Totally. And the other pattern is the opposite. The person who reads well, learns quickly, maybe does all right on tests, so they quietly assume, I'm probably quite advanced. Then they meet a real conversation with real speed, real messiness, and suddenly it's like, oh, this is different.
I have a friend like that. She can read long articles, no problem. She'll even send me screenshots like, look, I understood this. And I'm like, nice. Then she went on a work call, and afterwards she texted me, I understood about 40%, and I smiled the rest.
That's painfully familiar. The smiling and nodding stage is a universal experience. And again, it doesn't mean she's stupid. It means reading and live listening are different worlds. Reading gives you time. Live speech does not.
So when people say, I think I'm B1 or B2, sometimes what they mean is I'm B2 at reading, but maybe A2 at speaking.
That's why I don't love the obsession with levels, because it makes people think there's one number that describes them. But real language ability is more like a messy profile.
Some bits are strong, some bits are wobbly, and that's normal.
Okay, but then the obvious question is, how do you stop lying to yourself? Because if I'm the I'm rubbish person, I'm being unfair. But if I'm the I'm advanced person, I might be overconfident. Either way, I'm not seeing myself clearly.
Here's the point. It's not that you're weird, it's that you're testing the wrong thing. People test their English in whatever situation happens to be in front of them. If the situation is stressful, they think they're low level. If the situation is comfortable, they think they're high level.
Oh, that's so true. Like if I'm at home with subtitles and tea, I'm basically Shakespeare. If I'm outside and someone talks fast, I'm a confused tourist.
Exactly. Context changes everything. And that's why the better question isn't what level am I, it's which part collapses first when the pressure changes, because that tells you what to work on.
So it's less about a label and more about a pattern, like I'm fine until someone interrupts, or I'm fine until there's slang, or I'm fine until I have to explain my opinion.
Yeah, that's it. And once you know the pattern, you stop making it personal. You stop saying, I'm bad at English, and you start saying, I'm good at understanding, but I need more practice producing under pressure. That's a completely different mindset.
That feels kinder somehow, more realistic, because I'm bad is just a dead end, but this bit needs work, sounds fixable.
Also, it protects you from the other trap, the overconfidence trap, because you can acknowledge I'm doing well in reading while still being honest about live conversation is still cuff. No shame, just clarity.
So basically, the question isn't, am I B1 or B2? The real question is, what kind of English am I trying to use, and where does it break?
That's it. And if you're listening and thinking, oh wow, I never thought about it like that, good. Because once you stop chasing a single number, you can actually build the parts that matter for your life.
It also explains why two people can study for the same amount of time and feel totally different, because they're measuring different things.
One person might be quietly building listening stamina, and the other person might be building vocabulary through reading. Both are progress, but if they're both using smooth speaking as the only ruler, they'll both feel behind.
That's such a big point, because smooth speaking is the one thing everyone can hear, including you, so it becomes this giant spotlight.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, social media makes it worse. You see these tiny clips of people sounding confident, and you forget that you're seeing the highlight reel. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's best 10 seconds.
Oh my gosh, yes! And then you're like, why can't I do that? And the answer is, maybe you can, just not on demand, not yet.
Exactly. So if we're being practical, the first step is not to guess your level, it's to notice your pattern. Where do you feel solid and where do you wobble? That's your real map.
I like that, because it's less judgmental. It's more like, oh, interesting, that's what happens to me, not, I'm terrible.
Once you've got that map, you can stop chasing a label and start building something useful. And that's when the feeling of I'm stuck usually starts to loosen.
All right, so we've basically agreed that the level question is kind of a trap, but it still leaves me curious. If people keep asking for a level, what are they actually trying to find out?
Usually, they're trying to find certainty. They want a simple answer because they're tired, and I get that. But the good news is you can get clarity without pretending you're one neat number.
Okay, I like that. Certainty is tempting, but clarity is more useful. Let's keep going, because I feel like this is the part people actually need.
What you just said, clarity is more useful, it reminds me of something. A lot of people aren't actually stuck. They're just not noticing the kind of progress that's happening. Because the progress they want is loud, like suddenly sounding fluent, but the progress they're getting is quiet, like fewer blank moments.
Yes, and quiet progress is so annoying because you can't show it off. You can't even prove it to yourself. It's like, trust me, I'm improving. And your brain goes, based on what?
The weird bit is, the most useful progress is often the least noticeable. For instance, reaction time. When you first start listening, you might understand a sentence, but only 5 seconds later after you've translated it in your head. Then months later, you still understand it, but the gap is shorter. That's huge, but it doesn't feel exciting.
That gap is such a good description, because when the gap is long, you feel like you're always late to the conversation. Everyone's moved on and you're still decoding the last sentence. It's exhausting.
When that gap shrinks, you start feeling more present. You might not catch every word, but you catch the direction. You catch whether someone is agreeing, complaining, joking, or changing the topic. That kind of stability is progress too.
Okay, I'm going to confess something. My biggest I'm useless moment is when I'm watching something in English and two characters talk at the same time. You know when they'll overlap? I can follow one person, then the second one jumps in, and my brain just shuts the laptop.
Shuts the laptop is perfect. And honestly, even native speakers struggle with overlap sometimes, especially with background noise. But for learners, overlap feels like being hit by two waves at once.
Then the subtitles come on, and suddenly I feel smart again. But then I'm like, wait, am I improving, or am I just reading?
That's such an honest question, and it links to this invisible progress thing, because if you only count no subtitles as success, you'll miss everything else. For example, maybe last year you needed subtitles to understand the plot at all. Now you can turn them off for a minute or two and still know what's going on. That's progress.
And it's not dramatic, is it? It's not like fireworks. It's more like, oh, I didn't panic just now, which feels a bit boring.
But boring is often the sign you're building something stable. Another example is dropouts, those moments where you completely lose the thread. Early on, you might drop out every 30 seconds. Later, you might drop out once every few minutes, and you can still rejoin. That's huge.
That rejoin part is important, because when I drop out, I sometimes get so annoyed that I stop listening altogether. I'm like, what's the point?
That's why invisible progress matters. If you can drop out and then rejoin, you're training resilience. And resilience is what makes real-life English possible. Because real life isn't a clean audio clip. It's messy, it's fast, it's full of distractions.
Okay, but here's the emotional problem. Even if I understand what you're saying, when progress is this tiny, I still get anxious because I'm thinking, am I doing enough? Am I going too slow?
That's so normal. And I think it happens because people expect language to behave like school. Like you study, you get a score, you move up. But language is more like building fitness. You don't feel stronger every day. You feel it when you carry shopping and it suddenly feels lighter.
I love that, because it's not like you wake up and go, good morning, I'm fluent now.
The changes show up in real moments, like you hear a phrase and you don't need to rewind, or you hear a joke and you laugh at the right time, not 10 seconds later, or you're speaking and you don't freeze, you just keep going with simpler words.
Okay, the laugh at the right time one is so real. Sometimes I laugh late and then I feel like I've missed the bus. Everyone's already moved on.
By the way, even that improves. You start catching the rhythm. And that's why I always say, if you're consistent and your method isn't completely random, you will improve. The speed varies, sure, but the direction is there.
But you've got to notice it, otherwise you'll quit right before it becomes obvious. That's the scary bit. People stop because they think nothing's happening, but actually things are happening, just quietly.
So, maybe the kinder question isn't, am I fluent yet? It's, compared to a few months ago, what feels slightly easier? Because that's where the truth usually is.
I like that. It feels doable, and it doesn't turn every day into an exam.
Once you see those small shifts, you stop needing constant motivation. You just keep going because you can feel the groundwork building.
All right, so invisible progress is real. It's just not flashy. And it's probably the reason people underestimate themselves.
That's spot on. And once you notice it, you can stop calling yourself stuck all the time. You might still be climbing, just not in a way that looks impressive on a single day.
All right, after all that invisible progress talk, I feel like we have to address the word that keeps haunting everyone, fluent. It's like this shiny goal people carry around in their pocket, and half the time they don't even know what it means.
That's such a good way to put it. Fluent sounds like a destination, doesn't it? Like you arrive, you get a stamp, and then life is sorted. But in reality, it's one of those words that feels helpful until you try to measure it, then it turns into fog.
And I think a lot of people secretly mean one very specific thing. They mean, I want to watch Netflix in English without subtitles. That's the dream. Sit there, relaxed, no pausing, no rewinding, no panic.
Yeah, that's a very common one. And it makes sense because it's a clean, simple picture. But it also creates this trap where fluent becomes one single test. And if you fail that test, you feel like you failed everything.
Okay, but I'm going to ask it directly then. If you can watch a series without subtitles, is that basically native level, or is it just good listening?
I'll be honest, it's impressive, but it's not automatically native level, because native level isn't just understanding the plot, it's understanding the tiny social stuff. The tone, the sarcasm, the awkwardness, the things people imply without saying, and doing it without effort.
So it's like you can follow what happened, but you might miss why it felt rude or why it was funny.
Exactly. And another thing is, people forget that even native speakers use subtitles sometimes, not because they're bad at English, but because the sound mixing is awful, or the actor is whispering, or everyone's talking at once.
Thank you. I feel emotionally supported by that fact. Because sometimes I turn subtitles on and I feel like I've betrayed my own learning.
No, you're just using tools. And this is where I think we need a more realistic definition of fluent. Not perfect, not never pausing, not sound like someone from the telly. Fluency is closer to people can understand you. Your rhythm doesn't collapse every sentence, and your mental load is low enough that you can keep going.
Mental load is such a good phrase, because when your mental load is high, you feel like you're juggling grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and also trying to look like a normal person at the same time.
When people talk about fluency, what they often want is that juggling to stop. They want English to feel less like an exam and more like a tool. You're not aiming to be flawless, you're aiming to be usable.
Okay, I love that. Usable sounds way less scary than perfect, because perfect makes you freeze.
Here's another part people forget. Fluency is also about what you do when you don't know something. A fluent speaker doesn't always have the perfect word, they just keep the conversation alive. They paraphrase, they go around it, they ask a quick question and carry on.
So fluency is more like staying on your feet, not falling over every time you trip.
That's a lovely image. And if we connect it to what we said earlier about progress, it explains why people feel stuck. If your definition of fluency is no mistakes, no pauses, then you'll always feel behind. But if your definition is, I can get my point across and keep going, you start seeing progress much sooner.
Okay, but what about the Netflix dream then? Are we saying people should give it up?
Not at all. It's a great milestone. It just shouldn't be the only definition, because you can be very functional in real-life English and still prefer subtitles for a crime drama with Scottish accents and explosions in the background.
Honestly, Scottish crime drama is hard in any language.
So fluency isn't never needing help, it's having enough control that you can choose the help without feeling ashamed. That's a big shift.
That is such a relief, because I think people carry this hidden shame. Like if you pause, if you ask someone to repeat, if you use simpler words, you think you're failing.
But those are normal communication moves. And this is why the fluent goal needs a proper picture. If your picture is a perfect speaker, you'll silence yourself. If your picture is a confident communicator, you'll speak more and you'll actually improve faster.
So it's not just a language thing, it's a mindset thing. The picture you choose decides how you behave.
That's spot on. And I think this is the flip for today.
If you want fluency, don't chase perfection. Chase clarity, rhythm, and the ability to keep going when it's not perfect. That version of fluency is real and it's achievable.
Okay, I feel like we just made fluent less scary. Still challenging, but less like this mythical creature everyone's chasing. Okay, so we've made fluent less scary, but I still want to ask about that moment people talk about. You know the one. They go, I studied for ages, and then one day it just clicked. Is that real, or is that just people being dramatic on the internet?
It's real, but not in the way people imagine. It's not like lightning hits your forehead and suddenly you're ordering a roast dinner in flawless English. It's more like you slowly stop translating, and then you notice it afterwards.
So it's not a movie scene, it's more like you wake up and realise, hang on, I've been doing this for a while.
Let me put it this way. Early on, English goes through Chinese in your head. It's like a detour. English comes in, your brain grabs the Chinese meaning, then you respond. That detour is normal. It's how you survive at the beginning.
And it's exhausting, because you're doing double work the whole time. Listening feels like maths.
Then what happens if you keep getting enough input is that the detour gets shorter. Not gone, but shorter. You start recognising chunks, whole bits of language. Like, you don't translate to be honest every time, you just feel what it's doing.
Oh yeah, it's like your brain stops treating it as a puzzle and starts treating it as a vibe.
A vibe is surprisingly accurate. And once you have enough of those chunks, English starts explaining English. You hear a new word and the sentence around it gives you the meaning. You're not running back to Chinese immediately.
Okay, I've had tiny moments like that. Like, I'm listening to something and I don't know one word, but I still understand the point. And then later I look up the word and I'm like, wait, I basically guessed it.
That's the shift, and it's subtle because you still don't know everything, but you're no longer helpless without translation. You can stay in English long enough to learn from it.
So is that the threshold then? Like the moment you can use English to learn English?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. But I don't want people to think it's one specific day. It's more like a gradual handover. Chinese is holding your hand at the start, then English starts taking over. And one day you realise you're not holding Chinese's hand as tightly.
That's such a comforting image, because it means if I'm still translating sometimes, I haven't failed. I'm just still holding hands a bit.
It also explains why progress feels slow at first. Because in the early stage, you're building foundations. You're collecting those chunks, those patterns, those sounds. It's not glamorous, but it's necessary.
Okay, but can I ask something practical? Because people listening will be like, great Jen, how do I get there faster?
Fair, and I'll say this carefully. It's not about speed hacks, it's about staying in the right zone. If what you listen to is far too hard, you'll panic and run back to translation. If it's far too easy, you'll coast and learn nothing new. The sweet spot is where you understand the main message, even if you miss details.
So it should feel a bit stretchy, but not like drowning.
Stretchy is perfect. And another thing is repetition, but not boring repetition. I mean going back to the same type of content, same voice, same topic. That way your brain stops fighting the format and can focus on the language.
Oh, that makes sense. Because when I jump from a cosy YouTube vlog to a fast news clip, my brain just complains. It's like, we had a nice thing going.
Exactly. Your brain likes consistency. And then over time, you start noticing those click moments. Like you finish an episode and realise you weren't translating much, or you catch a phrase and use it naturally the next day. Those are the real signs.
Oh, I had that once. I said something like, to be fair, without thinking, and then I stopped and thought, who am I?
Those moments are brilliant, and they're proof that English is starting to live in your brain, not just visit it. But again, it's not magic, it's the result of lots of small, boring, invisible reps.
So basically, if someone feels like the first stage is slow, it doesn't mean they're doing it wrong. It might mean they're doing the foundations properly.
That's spot on. And if you're in that stage, the goal isn't to break through tomorrow. The goal is to keep showing up so the handover can happen. One day you'll look back and realise English has started explaining English for you.
Okay, that's genuinely encouraging. Not the fake you can do it kind, but the, oh, this has a shape kind. Like there's a process.
There's a process. And once you can see the process, you stop blaming yourself for being human.
Alright, I feel like if we leave people with one thing today, it's this. You don't actually need to panic about your level every week. You need a clearer picture of what you're aiming for and a fairer way to notice change. Because once you've got those two, the whole I'm stuck story gets a lot quieter.
Because the level question is kind of like checking your weight every hour. Nothing changes, you just get more stressed.
Especially with Fluent, because we've said it's not a single test. If you define Fluent as people can understand me and I can keep going even when it's not perfect, then you can actually spot progress in your real life. You'll notice you're less scared to speak. You'll notice you recover faster. You'll notice you're not translating every sentence.
And that's the bit that matters, because nobody lives in a vocabulary list. People live in conversations, messages, meetings, awkward small talk with strangers.
If we're being honest, most of us don't need native level. We need good enough for our life. We need English that works when we're tired, when we're busy, when we're a bit nervous. That's why the quiet progress matters so much, because it's building that reliability.
I think that's what people forget. They want the dramatic jump, they want the movie moment, but real progress is more like, oh, I didn't avoid that conversation, or I understood the gist without subtitles. It's tiny, but it's real.
The frustrating part is that kind of progress only shows up if you give it time. So if you're listening and you've been consistent, please don't decide you're failing just because it's slow. Slow is not the same as stuck. Slow is often what foundations look like.
That line is so important. Slow is not stuck. Because I think loads of people quit right before it starts to feel easier. They're like, nothing's happening, but something is happening. It's just quietly doing its thing.
So maybe this week, instead of asking, what level am I, ask, what feels slightly easier than it used to? And be honest. If the answer is, I can listen a bit longer, that counts. If the answer is, I don't panic as quickly, that counts. Those are real signals.
All right, I think that's a really good place to leave it. Like, not in a you must do this way, more like, try looking at yourself with a better ruler.
Exactly. A better ruler and a clearer goal. That's it.
If you enjoyed this chat, do us a favour. Give the episode a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with someone who's been quietly struggling with English.
Yeah, and if you've got a moment, drop a comment as well. We do read them, and honestly, they help us understand what you're dealing with.
All right then, we'll see you next week. Same place, same voices, hopefully a slightly better mood.
Take care, everyone.